Tremendous here, and I got another book review for you. This is book 7 of the Persolus Race, the short story compilation, and it is called The Seeker. It is written by C.C. Forshee. It is science fiction, still published August 26th of 2021, and is about 29 pages long. This is the spoiler-free version of this review. I'm probably going to touch on some small spoilers. Shouldn't be enough to ruin anything for you, but if you want, please click the link in the description below, get yourself a copy, read the stories, come back, watch my reviews, and comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Should I be institutionalized? These are all viable options when replying in the comment section. Just let me know what you think. Definitely interested in having a conversation. So for this particular story, the main character is a guy named Kenji Izuya. I'm going to say Izuya. If I'm wrong, I apologize to the made-up character. The plot is basically it's a Japanese-themed character, like the whole Japanese like feel, the background, the honor, stuff like that. That's all in this story, and it's very well put in there. I got to be honest. But this character that's some sort of royalty. It doesn't ever really say, but his family seems to be influential. They live in the big manor in the village, stuff like that. So he's definitely more than just a regular average Joe walking around in his village or whatever. But basically, he spent years searching the ocean of his planet for an Eden that has been lost for 200 years. And if you don't remember, an Eden is basically a big terraforming machine. And apparently, they're massive because he does find it. And he discovers a lost treasure that can somehow solve every problem humanity has, depending on who controls it. It's a little wonky. We'll get into my reasonings on that in just a minute. But again, this is the spoiler-free review. I'll get into more detail, obviously, with the spoiler-filled side. But basically, it's odd. This story feels half-baked. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm not trying to be wicked or anything like that. But the first half of the story, it almost feels like the author was trying to find their footing, trying to figure out what this character was and what this story was going to be. And then towards the end, it gets a little bit better, but it never gets good. The cover, we're not going to go over that. It's fine. The editing in this particular story was fine. There was no issues, no problems. The formatting and everything was good. No issues. The editing is solid. I was very pleased to see that. The story flow and feel, again, the story flow, it feels like it was written on Swiss cheese. There's a lot of holes, a lot of issues, a lot of just weak or missing plot points or forgotten plot points. And it all kind of wraps up at the end. Just there seems to be a lot of missed memory or something like that. Like this story was written without an outline to check it against or anything like that. It was a little wonky. And again, I'll get much more into that in the spoiler-filled review. The pros are, it was cool to have a Japanese-themed story. Even though in the story it says that Japan's empire and stuff like that, that's all been gone for hundreds, if not over 1,000 years, like a long time. The Japanese empire stuff has been gone, but somehow all the traditions and stuff like that and the theme has carried on. It's the year 2890 in this one, so 770 years, 870 years, something like that. And yeah, it's a little off, but okay, I can suspend my disbelief. I have no problem with that. I like those type of stories, so I was on board with this. I was kind of excited. It was like, oh, okay, this will be interesting. But it really failed to hook me. It was a little corny, there's so many things in this story that are just missing, and it was disappointing because, like I said, I was really looking forward to this particular flavor of story, and it just missed the mark. The end of the story, though, it does get a little bit better towards the end. The end of the story is an excellent prologue. I think if you just use the last half as a prologue to the beginning of your epic sci-fi tale, this would be excellent, but the rest of it just kind of ruins it because it just feels like multiple people wrote this or something. I don't know, and they didn't talk before they put it all together and shipped it out. The author does a good job of creating visuals and interesting characters. I will give them that 1,000,000%. When you're traveling around, Kenji, he does end up under the ocean, in like his little submarine boat, and that was pretty cool. But the way to describe everything, their use of descriptive wording and everything like that is excellent. It really is. I felt like I was underwater. I felt like I was exploring where he was exploring. And when he got back to the town, I could have probably found where everybody lived based off of their directions. It was excellent world building, great visuals, really talented there. The Wanderer itself, the Kenji's boat or whatever, is a very cool idea. It's basically a water skimmer jet ski submarine, and it's got all the little smuggler components, hidden compartments and stuff like that. It's got an AI named Dot that the character hates, but I don't know. Apparently, when the AI overlords take over, I'm going to be the first bootlicker because I have discovered through reading this book that I love AI personality. I don't know what that says about me, but thank you, Persolus Race, for pointing that character trait, I'm going to say, out for me. I love Dot. This is a great AI. It's just so upbeat, the whole time. Kenji hates this thing, and it's just kind of like, I know you hate me, but I love you. I love the AIs. I really do. And the end of the story, the author does a good job making you motivated to continue reading. I wanted to keep reading, but not about this character or this storyline. I wanted to find out what happened next. And the honor and the respect, the traditional things that you would expect to see in like a Japanese themed story or something like that, is definitely there. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. The cons, there's a ton of inconsistencies in this book. And again, I'll get into them more in the spoiler-filled side. I don't want to spoil anything. It's hard for me to talk around these things just simply because they're short stories. It's real easy to trip up on that. It feels like the author forgot a lot of the plot hooks, a lot of the plot points. One spoiler I will give you is literally Godzilla shows up. It doesn't call him Godzilla, it says kaiju, but the description, like I said, this author is amazingly good at descriptive verbiage and stuff like that. It was Godzilla. Big, massive lizard with teeth and a tail that swims around and comes after him. It's Godzilla. It's a little forced. It's a little corny. It's a lot corny. It's a lot forced. But literal Godzilla is in this book, and it's like, what? And then as soon as he enters in, which doesn't make any sense, he's just gone. That is just bye. Not a big deal anymore. What? It's super weird. You would suppose if there's Godzilla level monsters in the ocean, these people would be doing more than lazily hanging out in their boats in the middle of the ocean solo, with no weapons on the boat other than a pistol, just doing their own thing. I'm just saying, again, there's so many plot holes and forgotten plot hooks in this story. It's a little frustrating. And again, it feels more like late 1900s, early 2000s tech rather than the year 2890. A lot of the authors have forgotten this in their stories. It almost feels like they adapted stories that were supposed to be in the early 2000s to this year without taking into consideration the 870 years worth of discoveries and science that would have been founded by now. I mean, his ship, Kenji's ship, the Wanderer, is a perfect example of great technology. But here's the thing. He's spent years searching the ocean, not scanning the ocean, not doing sonar or whatever new radar thing they would have 770 years from now, but just driving around. He finds what he's looking for in the most non-technological way possible. And it's super frustrating. We're literally traveling the stars. We are colonizing and terraforming entire planets like somebody would open a thing of string cheese or save milk in a refrigerator, But no, they can't scan an ocean for something as valuable as an Eden. And this particular Eden, and I really want to touch on this in the spoiler-filled section, this particular Eden has something so incredibly valuable in it that if anybody were to control it, they could pull humanity into a golden age unheard of in the history of our race. Okay, and it's not that they don't know it's here on this planet, because the antagonist and protagonist people show up. Again, I know I'm flirting with some big spoilers here, and I'm really sorry about that, but I really want to make my point clear. I'm not trying to pick on this story. I'm just trying to point out some really, really big problems with it. The governments know it's here, and no one's actively searching for it. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. There's no reasonable or understandable explanation to any of this, even an irresponsible one or one that doesn't make any sense offered in this storyline. It is impossible to suspend disbelief in the year 2890 that they can't check an ocean and find what they're looking for, especially when you find out how big these things are. Just very frustrating, almost insulting. So in the end, after reading through it, I actually had to stop and think about it for a little while, and I debated. There was a whole star in between this, not a whole star, half a star, where I was trying to debate whether or not I wanted to give it a certain rating or not. But what I ended up going to is not one, not two, but 2.5 stars. I couldn't give it 3 because it's not an average story. I couldn't give it 2 because while I didn't like some of it, there was parts of it that I really did like. Yes, I'm a sucker for Japanese themed novels like this. I enjoy that. I like the honor, I like the respect, I like the tradition. I get a kick out of that kind of stuff, and the author flirted with it, and I did give a lot of credit for that because I enjoyed it, and I haven't seen anything like that in a while, especially not in this compilation. So I do definitely want to point that out and show it the respect it deserves. However, the author did not treat the whole story with the respect, nor the reader with the respect it deserved, and it was insulting. It was difficult to read, and I left it at the end. While I wanted to know what happened next, I wasn't interested in the character. I wasn't interested in the planet or anything like that. I was interested in the world that the author created, which like I've said, their descriptive language and their ability to world build is phenomenal. So I didn't hate it. I did not like it. I didn't fully not like it, and it wasn't an average story. So 2.5 out of 5 stars is the best I can do because anything more or less, the book, in my opinion, just did not earn. But again, don't take my word for it. I'm one man, one opinion. Please use the link in the description below. Check it out yourself. Come back. Let me know what you think. I'd love to have a conversation. So here's the start of the spoiler-filled review. I'm going to dig deep into this one, get into all the details, point out what I see as a pro and a con to the entire story. If you don't want spoilers, this is not where you should be. Click the link in the description below, buy the book, read it, and then come back and watch this. And let me know what you think in the comment section below, whether or not I'm, on par, I'm on point with this, I'm close, I'm way off, or anything in between. Love to have a conversation. All right, you're still here, so let's get to it. So the guy's named Kenji. He's basically, it starts off, he's solo on his submarine boat in the middle of the ocean. He's on the surface. It gave me real Waterworld vibes, and I liked Waterworld, so back off, all right? Kevin Costner is a national treasure. But I enjoyed the movie, I did. But that was the vibe it gave me, the way he's sitting alone on his boat. He's got his hand in the water. He's got no shirt on. He's sunning himself, and he's loving life. He's good, and it set the tone. I was like, okay, cool. Then you're introduced to his AI Dot, and Dot is also a national treasure and should be protected at all costs because apparently I have a real thing for AI. It's I don't know what that means, but yeah, I really got a kick out of AI in this story. Dot, it's just a real upbeat AI that's real, like, I love you, and Kenji's like, I'm going to erase you. Okay. It's just, I really like the AIs in these stories. Basically, you get a quick rundown of the history of this planet. Basically, the Eden that was there was destroyed, sabotaged, shut off, reversed. I don't know exactly, but basically the Eden that terraformed this planet was ruined, destroyed, removed, broken down, shut off, and lost over 200 years ago. It ravaged the planet, the oceans took over, and it was cool because Kenji's literally, there's like a storm coming up, and he's over near where his location is because he's looking for this Eden, and he ends up going submarine mode and starts going underwater, and as he gets down to the bottom of the ocean bed there, he runs into old ruins from towns and buildings and forests and stuff like that. I don't know if the trees would still be around after 200 years of erosion, but these are, and it was just kind of a cool visual, and I like that. I like that a lot. Like I said, it really did feel like I was underwater in the ocean, just based off of what I was reading, and I enjoyed that. This storm in the ocean is mentioned a whole bunch, and he seems concerned about it, but don't worry, it means literally nothing. And again, that's just one of those plot holes. The author went out of their way to point out the storm and how it was bearing down on him and how it was going to be a big one and how dangerous it looked. And that's it. They submerge. A little bit later, when he comes back up, you see the storm again, and you're like, is it going to mean anything? Is it going to do anything? Nope. Nope, it's just some clouds in the sky and it's going to drop some rain. Other than that, there's nothing to see here. So I don't know why there was so much attention put on this storm, but it did everything but fire a flare out of the book at you to let you know it was coming, and then nothing was done with it whatsoever. Like I said in my spoiler, less review, a lot of plot hooks and plot holes and stuff like that just seem forgotten or missing. It's super weird. Another thing is the author constantly reminds you about how much fuel or energy or whatever the ship has. It starts off at like 39%, and by the time he gets down to the bottom of the ocean, or like the 2,000 meters down that he goes, he's down to like 31%. So 8% of his energy is gone, just full throttle going down to the bottom of the ocean. And it keeps on telling you stuff like he's traveling around and he burns energy really quick. He gets down to like 20% or close to it before, well, we'll get to that, but basically, no, screw it, we'll get to it now. The Godzilla thing shows up, and he floors it to get away from him eventually, and he floors it for 3 hours, max speed. He's not underwater anymore, he's on the top, he's on the surface, but he's flooring it. And before flooring it and doing all this stuff, soaked his battery like it was going out of style. But 3 hours later, he's home and he made it, no issues whatsoever, and his overall charge is 2%. So what the hell is draining his battery? Tell him to stop downloading all that stuff, and maybe his battery life will last a little bit longer. Maybe he had a bunch of apps open. I don't know. It was super weird, though. Like, again, a plot hook that was either forgotten, unimportant from the very beginning, or just straight up it's a plot hole. It made zero sense, and the author focused on it a lot. Maybe they were trying to build tension or something like that, but there was no consistency whatsoever, and it really broke the story in a lot of ways. I know it seems like a small thing, but when somebody cries wolf multiple times in the first 5 pages of a story, you start, all tension and suspense is lost because you realize this isn't a big deal at all. The author just doesn't seem to know what they're doing, and maybe they do, and this was just a mistake and they didn't realize that, but that's a big deal, and that can kill the story. And in my opinion, for me at least, it really did. It started to really kill this story, and I was disappointed in that. So anyway, Kenji's at the bottom of the ocean, right? And like I said, he's been looking for this Eden for years. It's basically how he wants to become rich and famous. Finding the Eden and getting the treasure trove of stuff that he thinks is in there. It never really says what exactly is in this Eden, but it's been lost for 200 years or more. And the only reason nobody could find it is because it was under 2,000 meters of water in the ocean. That's it. There was no iron dense cave that it was stuck under. There was no Faraday cage or some other, the Wesley Crusher paradox happening. There was some water over it. For 200 years, humanity has been flying around in space. Well, actually, it's the year 2890. So for 800 plus years, humanity has been flying around in space, terraforming entire planets. Traveling around, no problem, scanning solar systems, planets, like no problem whatsoever. But for some reason, oceans are just way too difficult to figure out. Years people have been looking for this thing. And it's not just any Eden, too. You find out, Kenji finds the Eden, and he finds it because a drunk fisherman back in town told him a fable. And he followed that fable to this. I want to meet the fisherman. The fisherman story is the more interesting story here. That story is what your short story is right there. The author missed a wonderful opportunity there because that's the story. I want to know what the drunk fisherman knew, how he knew it, and why he told Kenji the tale because wow. When he gets down there, he discovers that the Eden is massive. We're talking thousands and thousands of meters long and about 500 meters in diameter. This is a massive skyscraper-sized structure that's only hidden under 2,000 meters of water. There's nothing on top of it. There's nothing blocking any sonar, radar, or whatever 2890 scanning technology exists in this world, in this universe. But nobody could find it until Kenji ran into it with his submarine boat. Not only is it huge, and he's the only one to ever find it, but he's able to drive into it. Like, he doesn't have to leave his boat or anything like that. He's able to drive inside of it with his big submarine boat. I mean, yeah, he scrapes the edges a little bit once or twice, but there's plenty of room. For some reason, when designing the Eden, they made it so that the hallways were boat-sized. Do with that knowledge what you will. Okay, I can suspend my disbelief, but it was so convenient, it felt like somebody should give me $20. I don't know, like that was the only way you could get more convenient, is if the book suddenly spit out a $20 bill. So he goes in there, and he's traveling around inside of it until he finds this treasure. Okay, he didn't know what treasure or what he wanted out of this thing. I get that people are like, oh, he was thinking, oh, there's going to be treasure and technology in here, but it's a 200-year-old piece of technology. I could understand the historical findings and stuff like that, but the way the author described it, to me, it was like he thought he was going to find Pandora's box in here. And in fairness, he kind of does, but it's just he didn't know what he was even looking for. It was just he assumed that this 200-year-old technology would have some sort of epiphany for the human race that's still thriving. It's still going on strong. There's wars being fought. There's planets being conquered. There's a whole bunch of governments and stuff. It didn't make any sense why he was looking for this thing. He was already royalty. He wanted to be famous, but finding a derelict Eden, why would that make him famous? They're not something that's like unheard of. Like, they still have them. They're still using them on other planets. So why is this one special? He doesn't know. It is special, but he didn't know that. And that's plot hole number 8 or whatever it is at this point. So his onboard AI, now that it can see the Eden, it can scan it and it can find everything. That's not how radar, sonar, or any other DAR works. Ever, like right now, that's not how any of that works. You don't need visual in order to scan something. But now all of a sudden, this friggin' AI can scan this skyscraper, literal skyscraper-sized Eden. And it discovers immediately, it takes moments, it discovers that this thing has on it something basically called they call it the Library of Alexandria or something like that. And it's supposedly filled with a compilation of all of humanity's knowledge. I mean, ending 200 years ago, because unless it's getting updates somehow while it was hidden in the ocean, which I challenge, because no, it did not, because otherwise something's transmitting to this thing, and if you're telling me in the year 2890 you can't detect 200-year-old transmissions, I'm going to raise the biggest BS flag that I could possibly find, because that's what that is. That is BS, that is ex machina to the maximum, unacceptable. So he gets in there, he's driving her over, he gets to it no problem. He gets to the cube that's for some reason on this Eden. The Edens are terraforming machines. Okay, they're super awesome. It's really cool technology. It's a really cool sci-fi piece for these stories. But that's what these things are. And for some reason, somebody put this literal Library of Alexandria on this Eden. That makes no sense whatsoever. No sense whatsoever. Why is this thing on this thing? Number two, if it was on there, why was it left there? Are you telling me that once this planet went Armageddon, everybody was just like, well, I guess it's a total loss. These Edens are indestructible, and we know that, but I guess it's a total loss. Hey, do you remember where we put the cube? I left it in the glove box. Oh, my wife's going to be pissed. I mean, literally. And at first I thought, okay, nobody knows it's on there. This is a great discovery. Kenji didn't even know it was on there until his AI scanned this ship. So maybe nobody knows about it. Oh, you are wrong if you think the way I think, because everybody friggin' knows that this thing is on there. Literally knows that the cube, the knowledge cube, the Library of Alexandria is on this Eden, on this planet for 200 years. This plot hole is big enough to swallow a black hole, okay? It's unacceptable. So his ship gets in there, and he's able to take it with the ship's little grabber things, which was cool. Right off, it's like in some sort of suspended animation. I mean, think anything Star Wars, some sort of Datacron or whatever. He reaches over with his little ship grabber thingy and plucks it out of there. No problem. There's not even a tube of glass to keep him out of there. So the cube was thrown on this Eden with zero security. However, when it plucks it out of there without any resistance or anything, a pulse goes out that shatters all the glass on the Eden, which, again, weird security system that when something of yours is stolen or taken without authorization, you send off a pulse that explodes all the glass around you. I mean, what is that? What is that? So, other than a cool visual, that is the most unrealistic part of this whole story. And there's a lot of weird parts, but it doesn't make any sense. But the author needed this because that's how it summons Godzilla. Literal Godzilla, they call it a kaiju, but it's a massive skyscraper-sized lizard with scales and teeth and a tail that comes roaring after him. So he pulls the cube inside, puts it in his pocket, and floors it in his boat of plot armor. And the Godzilla thing chases him. So somehow the Eden summoned this 200-plus-year-old Godzilla, at least 200 years old, probably older. He's upset. Kenji's upset that there's a kaiju, but not surprised, which leads me to believe that kaiju on this planet, number one, there's no other alien life in the universe they've discovered, but there's a kaiju on this planet, and that's not the biggest discovery in human history. What? There's literal Godzilla in this ocean. And Kenji doesn't seem super surprised to see it. He's just upset that it was summoned by the Eden. And it's chasing him. And so he floors it to get out of there, realizes that he's not going to get away, and stops his boat. Because like all big predators, if you hold still, they can't see you. Godzilla swims around for a minute, can't find him, loses interest, and swims back the way he came. Kenji thinks he's good, he surfaces, and the minute he surfaces, his sonar goes off, Godzilla's on him. Apparently in the entire ocean, Kenji's the only one making any noise. So Godzilla is chasing after him. Keep in mind, this ship, the author multiple times has been like, we're at low power, we're at 25%. So in order to get away from Godzilla, he just floors it. He waves hi to the storm, makes a point to point out the storm again, but that's it. The storm does nothing else. I thought, okay, here's where the storm's going to come in. He's going to get struck by lightning, maybe hail, maybe the rain is going to help him hide from Godzilla, however that's going to work. No, he doesn't even go through the storm. He waves to the storm, just, oh, look, there's the storm. It's still over there. And then he goes Mach 50 for 3 hours. 3 hours, Godzilla chases him at Mach whatever they're going. Supersonic speeds. And no problem. Doesn't run out of gas, doesn't run out of fuel, no problem anymore. All of a sudden, 20%, he can go all out for hours and it's no big deal. But earlier, just turning on his lights made him nervous and he had to dim everything because he was losing power quick. There's no consistency. It's super weird. The whole thing, these red herrings, these cry wolves, they disgust me, and it makes you lose all interest of any kind of suspense or thrill or anything else because there's no consequences. If they need to do it, they just do it. He ends up making it home, no problem. As he's trying to make his way home, he loses Godzilla after 3 hours of Mach 50 or whatever, full throttle. He gets over, he's heading home, and his sonar picks up a pirate. Apparently this planet is riddled with pirates. Jack Sparrow he's setting out franchises. And he spots one on his radar, and he stops. And that's it. That's all it takes. He stops. He doesn't move anymore. And again, like all big predators, if you don't move, they can't see you. It worked on Godzilla. It'll work on the pirates, and it does. The pirates, he knows they're looking for him, but he's holding still. He's not moving, so they can't find him. And they turn around and go back. Oh, I guess there was nothing there. I guess we shouldn't go and look at the spot that pinged. That would be effort. Who wants rum? Arr! And that's it. And then he floors it back home, and he gets back to his village with 2% battery left. Wonderful. Good on him. Outstanding. I was nervous. So he gets home, and when he gets there, there's nobody around. He's expecting to see a bunch of people. Usually the village is really packed. Not today. No, the streets are empty. Nobody's around. Walmart is open, but nobody's inside. He, of course, takes zero precautions other than putting a pistol in the back of his belt because, Han Solo and all. And walks home, gets there, and an evil army has invaded his village. Apparently, on this planet full of kaiju and pirates, the concept of security is not there. There's not even so much as like a police force that is mentioned in this thing. It's just a bunch of villagers hoping not to get sacked and pillaged by pirates and kaiju. Sure. So there's this evil army that has literally come out of nowhere. And they have not only been monitoring Kenji this whole time, but they know about the cube. They know about the Eden. They know about everything. Like they read the book. And they're sitting there. They have rounded up Kenji's family, bound them, dropped them to their knees in front of him, and are holding guns to their head. Literal guns to their head. In fact, the first thing that happens to Kenji when he asks what's happening is he gets butt stroked by an evil military soldier in the face. It snaps his nose and makes it go sideways. Don't worry though, Kenji's a UFC fighter. He's a professional MMA guy. He's used to taking hits like this. Just brushes it off, no problem. I'm not expecting everybody to have ever been in a fight before in their life. I'm not expecting anybody to understand that, outside of Hollywood, taking a hit like that is quite literally lethal. And, I'm not saying that the shot should have killed him, but he was hit square in the face with a rifle, with a butt stroke to the face, and it snapped his nose to the side. Blood's pouring out of his head, and he's fine. He's fine. It was a mild inconvenience. So sure, we'll say it was a grazing blow that just broke his nose. No big deal. He's going to look a little funny for a while, but no big deal. He gets dropped to his knees. He gets pistol whipped in the head again. So that's 2 head blows. Horrible head blows, by the way, in less than 5 minutes, between each other. And then the big bad guy, the evil captain, comes out. He calls him something else, but basically he's the general of this or he's a captain of this evil army. And he's like, give me the cube. I know you have it. I know you found it, Eden. We've been tracking you. See, they do have trackers. They do have scanners. They do have sonar and radar and the ability to find the stupid thing themselves. But apparently Kenji, with his plot armor, is what was needed in order to find the stupid thing. And instead of just talking to him and saying, hey, we could use it, they decided to basically kidnap and start murdering his family in front of him in order to force him to give him the cube, which he is carrying in his sock now, by the way. So he refuses. No, I'd rather die than give it to you. Literally something he says. So the evil bad guy, and I got to give the author credit for this. I didn't think that they were going to do it, but they did, and I was kind of like, oh, that's savage. Blows his mom's head off right in front of him. Dude just watches mom die in front of him for this stupid cube. Dad is next, okay? The patriarch of his entire family. That is in the book. That is said. That means something here. And his dad is miserable sad that his mom is dead, that his wife is gone. And his son looks at him, they make eye contact, and the dad says in Japanese, go to hell. It's actually in Japanese according to what the author says. I don't know, I didn't look it up, and I'm not going to try to say it because I don't speak Japanese. But literally tells him, go to hell. And that's what Kenji says. And his dad gets his head blown off. So, that's it. That's it. He still won't give up the cube. Mom and dad are dead. Grandma, grandpa, cousins, aunts, and uncles are literally next. They're going to just start executing everybody. The evil bad guy beats the crap out of Kenji. Like, blow after blow to the face is literally what it says in the book. And he's still fine. He's a little foggy, he's a little beat up, but you know, he's like he's drunk. This is the kind of stuff that you get when the individual has either never been in a fight or never been in a fight like this. And it's not saying anything negative. I'm not saying you need to get into a fight to write a fight scene. That would be ridiculous. But look it up. Talk to somebody who fights. You know, get their perspective from it, because a butt stroke, a pistol whip, and then a bludgeoning, like a beat down within 10 minutes, you know, that's a lot of head trauma, especially if you're not used to taking that kind of head trauma. Kenji would be unconscious, Kenji would be concussed, he'd be confused, he'd be throwing up. The blood loss that he would have, because his nose is literally on the side of his face now and he got pistol whipped and then beat down by a military guy who apparently knows what he's doing when it comes to fighting. He's fine though. He's just a little groggy, no big deal. Give me an aspirin and everything will be fine. So they're about the evil bad guys. The evil military is literally just going, okay, fine, we're going to kill your whole family then, and we'll go from there. And then the good military shows up and kills all the evil military. And Kenji, he was going to fight back. Remember, he's got the pistol in his back pocket. And he considered fighting back, but he literally says fighting this military group, the evil military group, is a good way to get yourself killed because they're super elite and really, really dangerous in the universe. The good military guys show up and kill them all like nothing. They take no casualties in return. They're just able to sneak up on these guys in the middle of this village that nobody's familiar with because the good guys have been there the whole time, and they smoke all the bad guys because plot armor's got a plot. I don't know. So all the evil bad guys are gone, and now the good military guys show up, and they walk over and they start administering first aid. They literally fix Kenji by resetting his nose right there. It hurts him a little bit, but he's totally fine. He got butt stroked, he got pistol whipped, he got pummeled. And he's fine. He's literally fine. All they do is reset his nose, and I bet there won't even be a scar. It's dumbfounding how big of a plot hole that is. He should be like in a hospital bed getting reconstructive surgery, getting all fixed up, and then the conversation can happen. But no, the good military guy walks up, puts his hand on his shoulder, and is like, "Hi, we're the good guys. Can you tell? We're wearing capes and tights. See, the S means hope." And Kenji's like, "Oh, I know you. You're the former government that everybody rebelled against and fell apart because we got too big and the universe got too big and you collapsed on your own weight." Literally said in the book. But yeah, you're the good guys. You're the ones that we're going to rally behind. I love you. And the other guy is like, "I love you too. I know you have the cube because I've been tracking you this whole time, as well as the evil, super bad military people. We are kicking them out of your system and fighting them off, no problem whatsoever, with just our grit and our, S means hope badge. So, could we have the cube?" Kenji gives him the cube. "Thank you, Kenji. You will be remembered for 100 generations. I love you." Kenji says that he loves him back. And they leave. They do offer him to say, hey, if you want to join us, we'd be more than willing to, make you a pawn. And Kenji's like, yes, yes, that seems like a good idea. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. Obviously, that's not verbatim, but it is ridiculous. He held onto this cube after his mom and dad died. And then because good military guy with the S means hope badge on his chest, and no, the Superman symbol isn't really on the guy's chest. I'm exaggerating to clarify my disgust. He's like, well, you guys are cool. Here's the cube. No compensation required, no nothing. He's literally just let his parents die to protect this cube. But good guy comes over, kills bad guy, and reward is cube and undying loyalty. So that night, Kenji has a funeral service for his parents. There's, that was actually a pretty cool little scene. It lasted about two sentences, but it was still pretty cool. And then there was like a throwaway couple of lines where he had this huge crush on this childhood sweetheart, right? They weren't dating, they weren't together, they weren't an item, but he hoped that when he found the Eden, became rich and famous, that would be enough to get him a date with this girl. Apparently all he needed to do was get his parents killed because he sleeps with her that night. And then he leaves in the morning, leaves her in his bed in the morning, goes to his boat ship, which apparently can travel, can fly, which brings into question the whole Godzilla chase scene and the pirates thing. Again, plot holes. And he goes to join up with the good military to crush the bad military because that's going to be his new legacy. He's going to kill the bad guys, all the bad guys, until there's no more bad guys, and the good guys are the only ones still around. The end. And that's why this story is only 2.5 stars, because there's so many plot holes, there's so many inconsistencies, there's so many just bad storytelling portions that it kills all the good parts that are in there. And there are a lot of good parts in here. The theme, the technology, the ship is really cool. The AI, I love the AI. The fight, the scene, the evil bad guys, the evil military. Although the fact that they literally materialize out of nothing, there's no police force on this planet full of pirates and kaiju, and this village just literally crumbles the minute anybody comes around. Also, one of the military groups, it's the year 2890, and he still has a carbine. Like, he's got a regular solid-state projectile rifle. What? He's using an 870-year-old weapon? What? That would literally be like seeing the U.S. Army going into battle with a tomahawk and a spear. I don't see that happening. That seems ridiculously stupid to me. And like I said, this happens a lot with some of these stories. I think the authors forget the universe they're in, what the date is. And they put old technology in there, which is just, it's jarring. It takes you out of the whole immersion effect, and any goodwill, any good things you've done are just ruined by that. It would be like, it'd be exactly like that. It's just, all of a sudden, there's 2010 weaponry being utilized 800 years in the future. And why? What's going on with that? Why does this keep happening? Did nobody in this group look at these stories and say, hey, why would they be using old technology? Hey, why is it that we can't scan the ocean? Say something. This is a 2-sentence fix. Many people have looked for this lost Eden over the centuries it's been missing, but due to the chemical composition of the ocean water and something about the bedrock that screws up our technology and is impossible to be scanned. So the only way to do it is the old-fashioned way with flashlights and submersibles, just like back in the early 2000s when the Pacific Ocean was first being explored by young adventurers or whatever. There you go. That's all I'm looking for. Give me 2 or 3 sentences explaining why it can't happen. But the fact that it was never thought of really, really irks me. And like I said, I didn't dislike this story, but I didn't. It's not an average story either. So 2.5 stars out of 5, I think, is exactly where this one needs to be. But again, don't take my word for it. If you think I might be wrong, please click on the link in the description below, get the copy of the book, and check it out yourself. More than willing to have a conversation after you're done reading it. So here's something that I haven't ever really done before, a bonus review. So I noticed something right after this story was over. I took a look at the other story. I like to see if they're going to connect or if they're going to match up or anything like that. And it turns out the next story is by the same author, and it's 2.5 pages long. I'm not going to do a full-fledged video on a 2.5 page story. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. So I read through it because it was 2.5 pages. It did not take long, and I decided to tack it on here because I figure it's already 40 minutes long anyway. Might as well go and add 5 more minutes to it. What's the big deal? If you're still listening at this point, awesome. You get the bonus review. If not, I get it. I do. It's really, like I said, I don't do these for readers. I do these for authors. I'm hoping that they look, hear my feedback, and it helps. That's, like I said, it all comes from a good place, no matter my tone or how I might come off. I really am just trying to help. So here's a bonus review for everybody who stuck with me for this long. So this story is called The Empire Reborn. It is number 8 out of 16. It is still written by C.C. Forshee, and it was still published on August 26th, and it is exactly 2.5 pages long. I'm not going to bother with a spoil-free review because that would be ridiculous. This one's full of spoilers. It's 2.5 pages. I couldn't even talk about it if I wasn't going to do spoilers. So this guy, Chancellor Calvin Thelhorn, it's the year 2899 or something like that. He's getting a pep talk from his aide and confidant and buddy Varys. It's a quick conversation. Thelhorn has spent the last 300 years or so making the ISA, the good military, win the war and bring humanity's universe back into a good place. Which is interesting because it's only been 9 years from the previous story, and apparently the ISA was not doing a great job, or at least not with the previous person's world, because they didn't even know the ISA was still here. But anyway, 9 years later, Thelhorn, this chancellor, is giving this big speech to millions of billions of people. That's the terminology used in the story. It's not something I'm making up. Thelhorn is not sure. He's got some imposter syndrome. He's not sure if he should be the guy telling, that everyone should be believing in. He's like, oh, I don't know if I really deserve this. So Varys lists off all of his accomplishments, and it's basically, you're a demigod that saved the universe single-handedly. And he's like, oh, well, when you put it like that, I guess I do deserve this. Literally, that's in the story. I'm not making that up. So why exactly he was having doubts or anything like that, you don't really know. It doesn't make any sense. He knows what he's done, but hey, imposter syndrome is a difficult thing to deal with. I get it. Varys goes through it. Crisis is averted. Thelhorn moves a curtain out of the way like he's a Roman emperor, and into an applause from millions and millions of people waiting to hear him speak. That's it. That's the end. I don't know why this was added in as a separate story. I don't know why this was part of this book like that, why it was an extra part. It's literally 2.5 pages long, and it adds nothing to any story that's been told. Maybe it comes into play later. There's at least 8 more stories to go through, but I don't understand it. You don't know who this Thelhorn is. You don't know who Varys. Neither of these characters have shown up in any story or even been hinted at. And who cares? Who cares who this guy is? Who cares that he's gonna, like, the whole universe loves him, and they tell you why. Like, they tell you what he did, but I didn't see it, and I don't see how it furthers anything. This should have either been included in the next story that's brought up, like, with some context, or omitted altogether. I mean, what did this do for the compilation whatsoever? I don't know why this is in there. I mean, I don't know how I could rate this thing any higher. It's a 1 star. I hate that this is in the book. I don't like it. It's not bad. There's nothing wrong with the 2.5 pages. Like, structurally, the editing was good and all that stuff. But it's just like, it's like they just threw a couple of pages that were on the editing room floor because they wanted the book to be 2.5 pages longer. I don't know why this is in there. This is a compilation of short stories. This does not constitute a short story. There's no body, there's no climax, there's no finale, there's an intro, but that's it. This isn't a story. A first-year English teacher would tell you this isn't a story, you get an F. You did not complete the assignment. It's insulting that it's in there and it should be removed. Simple as that. I can't be nice with this one because it wasn't cool to put it in here. It doesn't make any sense. I read a little bit into the story that follows it, and it has nothing to do with this Chancellor or Varus or anything of the sort. It's like 51 years in the future. It's like 3950 or whatever in the next story. And none of these people even mentioned. It's not even a transition. It's just, I don't know what it is. And it kind of irritates me that it's in the book. It's 1 out of 5. And that's it. A couple more book reviews are in the history books. Like I said, please, these are all my opinions. This is just what I feel. This is just what I think. And that doesn't mean that I'm right. Please, I implore you, click the link in the description below. Get a copy of this book. Read it yourself and come back and let me know what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I somewhere in between? Please, I would love to have a conversation about any of these stories in order to figure out, what you thought, what you saw, was I close? Was I even in the ballpark? Or are we in complete agreement or disagreement on the whole situation? As always, though, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. And as always, thanks.